Hello everyone. The title of this video is What is being cooked in Brussels? As you probably know, on February the 1st, there's going to be a meeting of the heads of the nation states. And there are a lot of agendas on the table. Among them is the most dangerous thing that can occur to Europeans at the moment, which is pushing Ukraine into the EU, and with it, the most horrible thing will happen because agriculture, as we know, in the EU will be dead. You have to understand that my heart goes out for the Ukrainian people. I think it's horrible what's happening to them. But at the same time, the lands, the agricultural lands of Ukraine are no longer Ukrainian. They belong to major, huge corporations, mainly American, but also Chinese and other, I think even Saudi Arabian corporations bought them up. And what they want to do is push their grains into the EU without any checking, and they are GMO and all kinds of other horrible things. And if this is allowed, uh, good food, normal, healthy food in Europe will disappear. So that's the key. That's what's going to happen there. Another thing which is important is that they want to push another 50 billion euros uh, through. They want to give 50 billion euros to Ukraine for 4 years, which means that they think that the war will continue for 4 years, which is ridiculous, because there's no, I mean, the people won't be able to survive that. They want to continue this war until the last Ukrainian soldier, and it's the whole thing is really horrible. And unfortunately, most of the heads of nation states here in Europe have either cretins and idiots or simply crooks as their leaders. Most of the governments in these countries are patchwork governments or rainbow governments that were put together in from many coalition parties that have different agendas, and they are constantly quarreling, and there are all kinds of blackmailing and under the table talk, and this is what you see. The whole thing is kind of falling apart. And if so, it's a really decisive moment, and one day before Imorg. So that's also funny. Let's put it this way. So let's take a look at the chart. This is for Brussels, February the 1st, and I put this on 9 a.m. because you have to understand that these people don't like to get up early, and also the talks are sometimes going on until the small hours in the morning, next morning, so they don't really start too early. But 9 o'clock is a decent timing. Let's put it this way. And there are some highlights already in the chart. The Mercury-Mars conjunction, which was exact on the 27th, also with the dark moon Lilith there, is already separating. Mercury is right at the cusp of the 12th house, showing that there will be a lot of under the table hiding thing, and of course lots of talks. There's Pluto and dark moon Lilith in the 12th with the sun, of course. So there will be a lot of blackmailing and a lot of cursing going on. There's also an applying Chiron North Node conjunction. It will be exact in maybe 2 weeks' time. So we are going to talk about it when it occurs. There's an exact Moon Aries opposition at that moment, and even if they start a day or an hour later, it's still going to be there, because within 1 hour the moon only covers half a degree of distance, and this is exactly squaring, this opposition is squaring Mercury. And there's also, funnily, an interesting conjunction between the vertex, the point of no free will, with Juno retrograde. And in mundane charts, Juno is all kinds of covenants and pacts and contracts and things like that. And Vesta is also on the IC, not really on. It's quite wide, but to me it means that we should all focus on the home, our nations, our countries, our families, and on the past. What was there in the past? So that's what it is. And there's an interesting T-square at this moment, at the beginning of the commencement of the day, involving the moon, Mercury, and Aries. Aries means drastically altered outward circumstances. And the moon, of course, is either the people of Europe, the nation states, or your spiritual essence, also your home, again, also your emotions. And it's squaring Mercury. So Mercury is at the apex of this. And this T square, which is a cardinal T square, so it is a new energy is coming in, and lots of strife and lots of discord and problems and issues, simply describes this moment in time, that what is being cooked or concocted in Brussels is very much against the nation states, very much against the people, and very much against common sense, I would even add. Now, Neptune seems to be dissolving this T square. But again, Neptune, if you look at Neptune, what is happening ever since it moved into Pisces, complete madness, craziness. Douglas Murray always says that it's simply ridiculous that we no longer know what we used to perfectly know well. Truths and biological and scientific truths are being questioned, being thrown out. So Neptune here is not really dissolving anything. The Mercury-Neptune sextile is the smokescreen. The moon Neptune would actually allow us to be clairvoyant or clairaudient, or actually understand what is going on. What's the problem? That this is a monodirectional quincunx. Neptune is not retrograde. The moon is never retrograde. So this really works sometimes as a trine and sometimes as a square or an opposition. So sometimes we will know what's happening and sometimes we won't. We will question it. That's the main feature of the chart. Let's take a look at the transcendental objects. Maybe we will be able to understand a little bit better what is going on. On the moon, you have Urania, which is the muse of astrology and astronomy. So look at up the stars. This is what we are doing. And two bright stars, Spica and Arcturus, which are at 24 degrees Libra. So it's they're very different because Spica is the alpha star of Virgo, and it's where she holds the shaft of the wheat shaft. And this is the nurturing hand of Virgo, and it's also the potential to come out of stuff, to understand stuff, the potential for brilliance. And Arcturus is a fifth dimensional world where children's souls who died in child abuse, during child abuse, are being healed. So they're very different, but they're at the same degree. Also, they are at very different positions in the sky. On Mercury, you have Freya, the love and war goddess of the Norse mythology. So there's going to be a lot of fighting and a lot of ass kissing at the same time. And Hylonome, which doesn't really suggest too much good for us, because Hylonome is the wife of Silurus, who is the most handsome of the centaurs, according to Ovid's Metamorphosis. And Hylonome is very much in love with him, and when she sees him die on a spear, he jumps on the spear and kills herself. So they die together. And this archetype means unconsolable grief, very deep grief, and it's on Mercury at the moment. On Neptune, we have Tantalus, another negative energy. Tantalus is huge losses and pain, not grief, but pain, actually. And then on Aries, we have Lachesis, and that's the only saving grace besides the two bright stars for Urania for us, and maybe Freya, because Lachesis is the middle of the fates, who is actually creating your life. When you go up there to the fates and tell your story, what you want to accomplish here on Earth, then Clotho is the one who is creating the threads, and Atropos is the one who cuts it into into perfectness, but it's Lachesis who is creating your life fabric. So on Aries, it means to my understanding, it means that yes, there are drastically altered outward circumstances. This is what you see. People's lives are completely being altered by the powers that be, and we are pushed into poverty and pushed into all sorts of horrible things. The EU was created for the sake of the people, okay, because they want to guard the well-being and freedom of the people. And this is exactly what they are taking away, our freedom and our well-being. We are being pushed into this horrible abyss of even food shortage and things like that. Or if Ukraine is really pressed into the EU, then our food supply will discontinue because we are going to have to eat the GMO and all kinds of other horrible things, the GMO grains that they are producing at the moment. And again, don't forget, these are not Ukrainian; these are American and all kinds of other corporations, global corporations. But Lachesis gives us hope that under such drastically altered outward circumstances, we still might win, might come out of it with a plan, with a fabric that we can bear actually. If you look farther, this is what I normally do when I have a configuration and I want to open up the karmic layer, the hidden karmic layer. I look at other TNOs and centaurs that are at the same degree, and we find a number of ones. Alicanto is the nocturnal bird who is eating precious metal, and when he eats too much, he's unable to fly. And it's in Taurus, it's an ETNO, so it has a very long orbital period, so it's going to go nowhere. It's going to stay in Taurus, the sign of creating harmony and security and well-being, ruled by Venus, of course. And Alexander here represents the greed that these companies, these global corporations, and these global entities manifest. And opposite it is in Scorpio are two brilliant things, which I'm going to get to in a minute. But in Leo, so actually there's a T square, you have Pramzeus. And Pramzeus is the creator god of Lithuanians, and he rules the sun, the seasons, the changing of the seasons, and time itself. And this is brilliant because it indicates that if we pay attention to the flowing of time, to the seasons, to what is happening in nature, we will understand it. In Scorpio, so the other side of the T square, the opposition point, you have two TNOs which travel together. They were there last year, and you may remember I told you that if these two are together, it creates a very interesting dilemma because both are linked to nature. Typhoon, of course, is the destroyer in nature, something huge that is destroying everything. So it's the destroying power of what nature can produce. But Devana is the protector of divas and other elementals who are there to protect nature. And Devana is their protector. So here we have the two forces of nature, and it really gives us hope that this idiocy, this green agenda and Green New Deal are going to be swept away when they realize that it's not working and it's a horrible hoax. And of course, it is the agenda of greed, because what they want is that we should buy into this green stuff, which is stupid, and it simply impoverishes us and doesn't allow, and it's not green. None of these technologies are green. And on Virgo, we have Teros, who is a centaur who is hunting bears, but he doesn't kill them. He simply takes them into his cave and tries to tame them. So Teros is about how we can tame our instinctual side, or how we can actually be on top of them. And in Capricorn, oh yeah, I already told you the Mercury Freya stuff. Yes, sorry. Okay, there's another thing. So if we allow this 9 o'clock morning starting time, by which you can be sure that they are already drinking coffee and talking about a lot of stuff, how they can actually put the knife into our back, so to speak. Anyhow, so here's what we have there. If we allow this, there is a fixed ground cross, and actually the fixed ground cross and the accompanying mystic rectangle are the two main parts of this complex planetary picture. All the rest are just derivations of the main issues. And actually, but it's really describing what's going on. Because in a mundane chart, the ascendant is the entity itself, the commencement of what is happening, and the descendant is just like in a natal chart, it's either your spouse, your partner, or your enemy. And there will be a lot of fighting and lot of hassle and a lot of clashing in this. And squaring them is the Pallas Athena Sedna opposition, which again indicates that with Sedna creation through dissection, they really want to dissect something. At the moment, it is the financial and the agricultural basis of European countries. You might remember that maybe 2 years ago, the EU took a loan. It was for the recovery of businesses and things in the countries that were ravaged by the pandemic, of course, which was their doing as well. And so they decided to get this money. And let me tell you, this is the first real step towards empire building. This is what happened in the United States when the 13 original states entered into a loan together. That was the formation of the United States of America. And actually, this is the first. This was the first step towards this new empire that they want to build. And those countries who are on the periphery are never happy with any empire. And or these Eastern European countries, which are actually Central European countries, but they keep saying that we are Easterners, which there's no problem with it, believe me. They will remain on the periphery. So we don't really like the whole idea. It might not actually happen because Germany is at the moment falling apart, and without Germany, the euro doesn't work and nothing works in the United Europe idea. But we will see. But at the same time, Pallas Athena is opposite Sedna. Creation through dissection is opposite wisdom. So we will see. But the fixed ground cross shows that there are fixed energies here, rigidly fixed energies. At the same time, there is a mystic rectangle also. Mystic rectangle is formed by ascendant descendant and the Ceres Astrea opposition. And Ceres means cereals. She is the goddess of grain. And the big issue here is what will happen to European agriculture if they really push Ukraine into the EU and with it, its agriculture, which is huge, enormous, and totally owned by the global corporations who simply don't accept any of the EU laws. And so they have all kinds of GMO and all kinds of horrible other stuff that they want us to eat. And if this happens, we are we are screwed, excuse my language. But Astrea, the common breaker and destiny changer, is opposite it. It's in a mystic rectangle. So two sextiles and two trines are kind of easing the tension. It's still a very interesting moment in time, indeed. And the rest of the configurations are coming out of these. What is important maybe is actually the bow, which is the least of the enumeration that I just lifted here, because if you take a look, the two quincunxes are actually bidirectional, and bidirectional quincunxes work as a trine. So if you take those out, and we see that Ceres and Sedna are in a bidirectional quincunx, which means that yes, we can rearrange, we can recreate agriculture in a more protective way. And then Parasarthina Astraea means that yes, we can break old embedded karma, or we can change our destiny through wisdom. So that's good. Let's take a look at the transcendental celestial objects. On the ascendant, you have two Egyptian archetypes, Sekhmet and Aten, incidentally both linked to the sun, to the emperor, to the divine energy of the sun. And those represent, hopefully, the leaders of the nation states and or those who want to create this empire, the backdrop of power. On the descendant, you have Horemheb and Helena. Helena, of course, is the Greek, the most beautiful woman on earth who triggered the Trojan War. Again, the descendant is your enemy as well. And Horemheb, who was born a slave, but he was elevated first to a general and then to the pharaoh when Tutankhamun dies. But it symbolizes the unlimited powers, how you can actually rise to power, the unlimited energy, the unlimited potentials. On Ceres, you have Harmonia, the goddess of harmony. Varda, Tolkien Silmarillion has her as the queen of the Valars, who is creating the stars. So you can create anything, really. And the galactic center, which is really funny, Ceres at this moment is at the galactic center. And in comic astrology, the galactic center represents the dilemma to be or not to be. So, since this is a meeting in Brussels, it simply symbolizes the moment in time where we can actually have or not have our agriculture. It's very, very significant. On Parasarthina, you have Deucalion, again, something to give us hope. Deucalion is the entity of what we link to it, the archetype, not the entity, sorry, of survival and also being the chosen one. He was chosen by Zeus when he punishes mankind by destroying them with a huge flood. And Deucalion and his wife are surviving it, and they are then recreating mankind of their offspring. So it means that to be chosen and also to survive. And it's on Parasarthina. That gives us hope again. And on Astraea, you have Odysseus, which means someone who is adventurous. Being European at the moment is very adventurous. Asbolus, who is a centaur who has all kinds of premonitions. He's a clairvoyant, and he's completely disregarded whenever he says things that are true, but always ridiculed when he makes a mistake. And this is exactly happening, for instance, to our prime minister, who simply tells things ahead of time, 4 or 5 years sometimes ahead of time, and he's always right in hindsight. Very funny. And it's on Astraea, the karma breaker. And there are 3 fixed stars, which I'm going to look at in a minute, because they are at the same astrological degree, although Mercurian is already at 0 degrees Cancer. The rest are at 29 degrees Gemini, but I'm going to show you that they are at completely different portions of the sky, the night sky. And on Sedna, you have Zoser, another Egyptian. He's a pharaoh who is the pyramid builder, and the Pleiades, which I forgot to change in Hungarian. Forgive me, but of course they are the Pleiades, the seat of the creator goddess, which Sedna will be conjunct or not aligned, actually aligned with the Pleiades for another year at least. Anyhow, so this is when Astraea gets aligned with these fixed stars for a couple of days only. As you can see, Betelgeuse is Alpha Orion, and if you look at the sky, don't look at now because the moon is still very bright, but wait for a couple of days or wait until the black moon, balsamic moon, and you can actually, if you are at a place, not in a big city, but at a place where the night sky is bright and you don't have environmental pollution, light pollution, and you will be able to see that Betelgeuse, which is a very bright star, is the eastern shoulder of Orion, and that is where the Milky Way is flowing across. So actually, it has an unlimited success energy. Menkalian is a beta charioteer, sorry, not alpha, beta charioteer. The whole constellation charioteer is linked to the tarot number 7, the chariot. Menkalian is showing actually the whole constellation is usually depicted as Vulcan or Hephaestus, who creates himself a chariot because his legs are broken and kind of useless, so that the chariot can take him wherever he wants very fast. And the tarot card means if I know what I want, I can start and actually win. I can start, I can commence on my journey and win. So that's on Astrea, the karma breaker and destiny changer. So we can still change our destinies. Just we have to know what we want. And Polaris, of course, is the pole star at the moment. So it is a link to alternative realities and alternative galaxies even. So that's it so that is what the stars and the planets say about what is being concocted up there in Brussels. It could go two ways. There are some things that are very hopeful, and there are some very rigid structures which show that the powers that be really are adamant of placing the Ukraine into this monkey cage. I always call it monkey cage. And then that will be the end of nation states and European agriculture as we know. Let's hope it's not going to happen. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.